Well, hi there. I'm Diana Montford, the world's first transgender television journalist. Born male, became female, you know the drill, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we always have interesting guests. But we have a very interesting guest this time. Miss Alina Bloomgarden, who is the founder of Music on the Inside. She's going to tell us what that means. It connects incarcerated and at-risk youth with seasoned musicians to offer learning opportunities. I'm reading it from the brochure here. We met in a very strange way. I was taking the crosstown bus. She was already on it. It was crowded. I went to sit in an empty seat. The bus lurched. I kept going. I stopped in front of a young man with a cello and a woman talking to him. And there was a seat next to the woman. So I sat down, and the woman was Alina Bloomgarden. How do you like that? God wanted us to meet. And I asked her, well, will you please do my show? And she said, yeah, sure. So now tell us, how did you get the idea for Music on the Inside?
Well, I've been the privileged to be a jazz producer. I actually was the founder of Jazz Lincoln Center way back.
Whoa!
And
why didn't you tell me this?
And I convinced Lincoln Center that jazz had a place there, and I called Wynton Marsalis and brought him to Lincoln Center.
Oh, good old Wynton, yes. How is the dear boy? Yes.
Well, he's really
Isn't
been
that
helpful
great?
to us.
Well, I don't know him, but you do.
So then I did a series of shows for Lincoln Center called Reel to Reel, combining film and live performance, introducing youth and children and families to our cultural history.
Sure.
And I did a show on Duke Ellington called Storytellington, and I did a show about Louis Armstrong.
Well, you're a sophisticated lady.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So
Duke Ellington.
yeah,
Yes.
no Duke Ellington, I understand. So anyway.
I'm going to take the A train if this doesn't work. Okay, yeah.
Me neither. Me
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Anyway, so then I produced a townwide celebration of Louis Armstrong in Woodstock, Vermont, writing curriculum for the high school English students, involving all the students.
You know, he was actually 17 months younger than he thought he was. He wasn't born on July 4th, 1900.
Right.
He was born on August
4th,
6th.
1901.
Yeah, isn't that
Yeah.
amazing?
I know, he always wanted to say that July 4th was his birthday, though.
Yeah.
So anyway, in celebrating Louis Armstrong, who was a wonderful person in so many ways,
Yeah.
I was reminded that he was arrested when he was 11 and sent to the Colored Waifs Home for Boys, where they had a boys' band.
Then that's what made him Louis Armstrong.
Yeah, and that made all the difference in his life,
Yeah.
and the rest is history. It affected the whole planet. He
Babe
was like,
Ruth went to a reformatory and learned to play baseball.
is that true? I didn't know that.
In Baltimore. He kicked his mother in the stomach, really.
Wow. So it really begged the question, what are we doing today? And I mean, incarceration can be a time for real renewal. And are we using those opportunities?
No, we are not. You
So-
have to admit we are not. Unless it's someone like you who has decided to help.
And not only me, but so many musicians really want to help this population, which was one of the premises we had in starting the program, that musicians would want to help this population, and that's really been validated. Wynton is our artistic advisor. Jonathan
Wonderful.
Baptiste just joined our board. So many wonderful jazz musicians, particularly. That's because that's my background. Not to say that we would limit it to jazz musicians, but we've been bringing jazz into Rikers Island now, and starting with where the youth are, which is hip hop. We make the bridge through the blues. We teach them blues. They write their own blues. They sing their own blues.
Isn't that great?
So it's been an amazing experience. We are now in our third year. We're established in Rikers Island, and we're about to expand, hopefully, into the state prisons as of next summer.
Wonderful. By the way, for those of you who don't live in New York, Rikers Island is our Devil's Island, our Bastille. It's a very difficult prison. I'm sure they're all difficult, but Rikers is especially difficult, and hopefully it will be closed eventually, but right now it's very much open and a very difficult environment.
Yes and no. You know, you go in and you work with the youth. You don't know what they did. You don't ask. And you just come to them with music, and the bridge is immediate, and the connection is immediate.
Do they trust you?
They really do, through the music. So you see that, I don't know, maybe some of those young people did really bad things. Some of them might not have done very bad things at all. But a lot of
Isn't
times
that
I
terrible?
say we punish poverty.
Yes.
So,
And race.
and race. So we make an immediate bond with the musicians and the students, and it's very gratifying to see that.
Do you find that being Caucasian hinders you in your work?
Not at all. It's interesting. The music is really the bond.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you're coming in to really connect, you know, I feel like there's a hunger to really be heard,
Mm-hmm.
and a vulnerability. The youth have a lot of vulnerability. They're inside.
Often that's why they're criminals, because they were hiding their vulnerability by being tough guys, and
Right.
now they're in jail forever.
Well, not forever, hopefully. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's been very amazing to me how easy it was to make connection and how much the hunger for that is there. And so a lot of what's happening, it's not only the music itself, it's the sense of listening and being heard, the sense that you can learn to be supportive of your own group.
Mm-hmm.
We do our programs based on the principles of creative youth development, so that they're part of the programming, they think with us what they want to accomplish. So we work together and sort of empower them and give them a sense of being advocates for themselves.
Have you found anyone with such great talent that you would offer him or her a job?
Yes, there was a couple of young people that we gave our websites to. We said, please, because one of our goals now, also this year, is to bridge into communities so that we can continue to support these young people when they get out, and that they don't just go back to the same situations.
Recidivism, you know?
Yeah.
Can't
So
get a
that's-
job, they steal
yeah.
something, back they go.
So there's what we've really discovered. There's a lot of need,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of promise to really music can really make a difference. So we're doing our best.
Do you come from a well-known jazz family or
No,
something?
not at all. Not at all. No, not at all.
There's Tea Garden, there's, there are, but not Bloomgarden.
No, not Bloom. Bloomgarden actually was a great Broadway producer. What was his first name? I forget right now. He was a great uncle.
Oh, fabulous.
What was his first name? I can't remember right
I
now.
know who you mean, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
So there's a name right there.
Are you a jazz musician yourself?
Not at all.
Where does your interest in jazz come from?
An old friend of mine used to go to Barry Harris's Jazz Cultural Theater, and I would meet him there after I was working at Macy's at the time. I was a senior executive in operations. And I would come out of Macy's Christmas, you know, working till 10,
Miracle
11
on
o'clock at
34th
night.
Street,
Yeah.
yeah.
I walk in and I feel this music changed my whole state. And I said, what's in this music? It's very healing. There's something about jazz where people are really listening to each other. They have to make that music. It just
And
was-
often it's improvised, isn't
yeah,
it?
and improvise. So you really have to pay attention. And I would find my whole state would change, and I just was very moved by the music. And then way later, well, 3 or 4 years later, I was working at Lincoln Center, and they were looking for new programming ideas for Alice Tully Hall for the summer. So I said, let's have jazz. And I had 3 proposals, and 4 years later, it was approved.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's how it all started.
I'm truly impressed, you know?
Oh, thank you.
It's really
So this is like
quite
that.
an achievement.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, it's gone on to become such a spectacular,
yeah.
world famous.
I mean, you've
institution.
made history, you know?
So now we're doing it again,
Yes.
hopefully. And the part that's been so gratifying is how many top musicians really want to help. They really are concerned. And we all share responsibility for the way we're discarding so many young
I
people.
know.
So,
Well, that does tend to go back to both race and class,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And today, whereas years ago, people of color could be in jazz bands and everything, now there's not even that.
Well, not only people of color, there's so much less opportunity for great musicians to play or for accomplished musicians to play. Let's say the few on the top really have plenty of work, but there are so many seasoned and accomplished musicians
Sure.
out here needing the work. So that was another premise.
All right, someone like Benny Goodman started in a band as like the third clarinet, worked his way up,
Right,
and eventually became Benny Goodman.
right.
You know?
Those opportunities aren't there.
No,
they
they're
were.
not.
But
The Tea Gardens, they were a whole family. I mean, the boys, the girl, they all played jazz in different bands with varying degrees of success.
well, there were a lot of jazz families. Jimmy Heath, we recently filmed Jimmy Heath, the great Jimmy Heath, and his whole family, you know, Percy Heath and Tootie Heath. And Jimmy served time when he was young
Poor
for
fellow.
drugs. And they had music inside.
Well, didn't Anita O'Day go
A
to
lot
jail?
of people. So there was, music was allowed, and now we really need to bring that back.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we're doing our best. And
that's great.
thanks.
Are you preserving this somehow? Are you filming it? Are you...
It's not that easy to film inside.
Oh, right, they won't let you.
Yeah.
in.
You have to leave your cell phones outside. even cell phones.
Yeah.
Forget about real cameras.
Yeah.
But we record the songs. We take note of the songs that are written inside, and we have a lot of beautiful songs to share. Maybe there's one in here. Let me just see if
Do you
there's
ever
one.
work with trans folk?
Not yet.
Transgender people?
Not yet, but doesn't mean
Surely
we would.
there must be young trans people who are, they probably have their own little
I can tell you a
area.
beautiful story.
Please do.
So when I was starting this program, one of my great mentors and the teachers that I've really learned from is the Fortune Society.
Mm-hmm.
It was started by David Rothenberg, maybe you know that, who was a great press agent on Broadway in the days of Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. So when I really need to be inspired again, I go to the Castle on 140th Street, where people who serve 30, 40, 50 years in prison are coming home, and it's so hard to re-enter that they're allowed to live there for even more than a year if necessary. So every Thursday night, anyone who lives there comes to a round table presided over by Stanley Richards and David Rothenberg, who are masters at this and beautiful people. And it happens, everyone introduces what's happening, people talk to each other, and then every night somehow a specific subject gets settled on. And one night I was there, and a trans person had used the bathroom in a woman's dorm, and the roommate took umbrage. And they went around that room and discussed it, and then they would change subjects, and Stanley Richards would bring it back. No, we're not finished talking about this yet. And then finally at the end they said, people have been prejudiced against us all our lives. How can we be like that? And I thought, the world should hear these people. They have a lot to give. They paid their dues.
I've always thought they should have the right to vote.
Yeah.
If you've paid your debt to society, in
Right.
quotes, it's paid. It's
Yeah.
like you can't get the same bill from the same store month after
Right.
month after month.
I'm not saying that some people didn't do things that were really very difficult. I don't know what people did. But people
Who
have
knows
paid their
what we
dues.
would do?
What?
Who knows what we would do in those
Exactly,
circumstances?
exactly. So when I heard that story, there's a story in terms of seeing the kind of spiritual and emotional maturity.
Well, you're very spiritual, aren't you?
Thank you.
You are, and
You can see that?
well, and we're shooting this on a Friday night,
Right.
and Alina usually goes to synagogue on a Friday night.
True.
But she opted to come here and share her story with us, which I think is great. We're seen on Thursday nights, but we're filming on Friday nights.
Thank you.
And that's really
So
great.
this is our Shabbos.
Yes, this is God in action, you know? I mean, you're giving a gift to people, you know?
Well, I'm trying to be the vehicle for
Yeah,
other people to
sure.
give their gifts as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, one of our goals is really to galvanize the jazz community as a force for criminal justice reform.
Well, and
And
so many
societal
of
reform.
them
Want to.
are, yes, and so many of them are targeted by, years ago, if someone smoked marijuana,
Right.
someone, a greatest generation man would say, oh, jazz musicians do that, what do you want to do?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, different world. Yeah.
So now we're in conversation with the state commissioner of prisons, Anucci, and Winton Marsalis, and our goal now is to kick off some programs in the state prisons with his band and then continue the music education inside.
Wonderful.
So that's really a long-term goal for this year.
Yes.
And
Now, state prisons would be more maximum security.
yes,
Rikers is basically a holding pen. isn't
exactly.
it?
It's a jail. There's a difference.
Yes.
So people are there much longer. So we're really developing our program now to think about giving a much more in-depth music
You
program.
mean in state prisons?
Yes.
Where there are life prisoners and other things.
They're
But people sentenced to life.
so longer. Well, I don't know about that. They're certainly serving longer terms. Yeah, it could be life. Yeah,
You know.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I don't know.
it must be very difficult to go there and then leave. Like when you're leaving, you must realize.
Well,
I'm
sometimes
leaving and
my
they're
heart.
staying.
Yeah, there's one young man that we worked with in the last semester on Rikers that I still think about him, and I gave him our email, and he's going upstate for 3.5 years, and he didn't seem upset about it, and I thought, because he has this idea almost like he's going to college. He's going to get a trade, and he's going to go to college.
God love him. He's
God
making
love him. But I just
lemonade
hope
out
that
of
he
lemons.
I hope he gets the support that he has the vision for. That's what I'm concerned about, that we give the support to him. There are great programs happening. It's just not
There were more 80 years ago.
probably.
In the days of the Tehachapi Women's Prison, there were a model community that taught women
Right.
to live.
Right.
There's a book called, whatever it's called, Women in Chains or something, about Tehachapi,
Wow.
you know?
Right.
But that was then, this is now.
But there's wonderful Hudson Link, gives degrees to people inside who show.
Yes, I read about that in the
That's
New
a wonderful
Yorker.
program.
We discussed that on the bus, remember?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with the work that a lot of people are doing. It's just that there's so much need. There's so much more.
But that's
to be done.
because we have more people incarcerated than any nation on earth.
We do.
If a kid broke a window while playing baseball and we let him go and said, "Now you paid for that window,"
Right.
it would be a whole other deal, you know?
Right.
But today you break a window, you're up the river for God knows how long.
Oh.
You know it's true.
Well, I think what I do feel is that there's a sea change happening, and in a sense, the Commissioner Annucci said that too. You know, somebody told me like there's 50 years of like a punitive point of view,
Yeah.
and then there's kind of a rehabilitative point of view, and we're on the cusp of realizing, you know, we all benefit when someone gets their life together, and we all suffer when we
People knew
ignore.
this in the 1920s and 30s, and then they encompassed that punitive. Well, rehabilitation didn't work, so let's kick the crap out of these criminals, and that's what they're doing now, and it does no good.
Well, I hope we're on the crest of improving that, and there does seem to be an openness to that. It does seem to me that the criminal justice and the correctional system is open to these programs.
Don't you have a certain amount of influence, being frankly as important as you are? Couldn't you, for example, tell the papers, let me tell you what's going on in the jails, folks?
Well, thank you.
Of course, they'd never let you in again, but still, you know, they might let you in as a prisoner, but, you know.
Yeah, that wouldn't be my role.
No.
I would much rather do something that's positive and gets inside than make it impossible to go inside. Yeah. But I do feel that there is a sea change, and that it's time for criminal justice reform, and that it's not just...
It's been time for so long.
Oh, yeah. And that musicians really have a role to play, and they want to, and it's really powerful.
Yeah.
So.
Do you play?
I never played. I was always a dancer.
Oh, cool.
I'm still a dancer.
Do you sing?
I sing a little now in synagogue. I never thought I could sing. Now I think I can.
Oh, well, that's good. But religious songs aren't quite jazzy.
No.
You know.
Just opening your voice.
Yeah,
there's
sure.
something about opening
Well,
your
it's the
voice
same
opens
thing,
your heart.
Yeah. You're channeling something.
Right.
Whatever kind of singing you're doing, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm so glad we met.
Thank you so much.
Anyway, so if there are any musicians out there, really good musicians, you know, like...
There are a lot of really good musicians out there, and a lot of them don't have as much work as they could.
Well,
So
would they like to volunteer for music on the inside?
Right. We pay our musicians. They don't volunteer.
You heard that.
Our mentors volunteer, but our teaching artists, we really make a point of paying our artists.
So if you need a gig and you want to do some good at the same time,
Call www.musicontheinside.org.
okay.
Dial it.
Punch it in. Something
Link it,
like
whatever
that.
you say.
Yes, whatever. But, and we'll give that again before the end. But, so now if a musician wants to volunteer, how does she or he go about it?
They can go through our website. There's a link on our website.
Mm-hmm.
And also peer-to-peer, people letting each other know that this is happening, so to support, because there's so much more we can do. It all comes down, I hate to say it, to money. So we could
Doesn't it
expand
always?
tremendously. The more support we have, the more potential there is.
So if people are willing to contribute money, how would they do that?
Same way, right through our website. There's a link.
And you are a not-for-profit, of
We
course.
are 501c3.
Mm-hmm. And you do a lot of wonderful stuff. And when people get out, whether or not they want to be musicians, they now have a sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. And focus and support. There's so many intrinsic qualities in music beyond just music playing.
Yeah, sure.
Listening, hearing, expressing, being heard.
Takes you somewhere else.
Yeah. Communicating. Also being in a group, supporting each other. There's so much.
Often people, the only groups they've been in have been gangs.
Exactly.
And now they find that there
What
are
about
other
a
ways
band?
to connect.
Bands instead of gangs is kind of one of our underlying thoughts. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. And often, wouldn't it be interesting if rival gangs wound up in the same band and became friends? I'm sure that happens.
Well, that would be great. In prison and in jail, they keep those gangs in separate dorms.
I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, what are the youngest people you deal with?
We dealt, this past semester on Rikers, we dealt with 16 and 17-year-olds and 18 to 21-year-olds. And I will say, 18 to 21-year-olds are a lot easier. They're
Why?
much more ready to deal with themselves, to look at themselves. There's a kind of energy crawling the walls that 16 and 17-year-olds had.
And they're very defiant also at that age.
They weren't defiant.
You can't tell me what to do, that kind of thing.
But, you know, I expected that when I went into Rikers, thinking I'd have that kind of attitude. I've not seen that at all. I've seen a humility, I've seen an earnesty, I've seen a regret. When they
For
write,
what they did?
yes, they write blues. You know, they write. We ask them to write a blues, and they speak very honestly about what they're dealing with. So, I haven't seen that. I mean, one could expect that, but I don't know whether it's the music. But
And also they're impressed with your kindness in coming over.
I think so.
You don't have to do this, you know?
Yeah, I
mean,
think
you're
so.
doing them a favor, and not a lot of people have done them favors, you know?
It seems like that. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I was surprised by it. I was surprised by it. I didn't know what we'd
Yeah,
see.
sure.
Yeah.
You didn't even know if you'd keep the program going if it was too weird and dangerous. No.
Well, I never thought that. I always thought I would. I don't know why. I just know it wants to happen. You know, sometimes you're in service to something, it just wants to happen.
Yeah.
And right now it has a kind of volition and it's building, and we're in service to that. Myself and my board, you know, this is really a dedication that we share.
Yeah. Now again, if people want to contribute, they can go to
www.musicontheinside.org.
And if you are a musician looking for work and want to teach and get paid,
www.musicontheinside.org.
Now this is real. This is not, you know, let me try it and see if I like it. If you commit, you sort of have to commit.
Yeah. Well, the same
And
thing.
this is not easy. This is, if you thought being a substitute teacher was tough, it's a little weird.
Well, I will say that we expect the same thing of our students, so that before they come to a program, we have them apply, because we want them to make a commitment and to understand that they're making a commitment.
Sure.
Too. We are, and they are.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an important quality that we bring.
Where do you get your instruments?
The musicians so far have been bringing in their own instruments, and that's another thing. We'll need to develop more instruments, but as we need them, they've come our way. In fact, recently, a beautiful story, David Rothenberg from the Fortune Society called me to say there's a prisoner who's an older gentleman in a high security prison, serving a long time, losing his eyesight, and in his last incarcerate, wherever he was,
Yes.
he could not have a trumpet, but now he can. Do you know anyone who could donate a trumpet? So I put the word out, and Wynton Marsalis immediately responded and said he has a trumpet for him.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
You know, Charles Manson was taught to play the guitar by one of Ma Barker's underlings
Wow.
in prison. Yeah.
Wow.
It can go either way, you know.
That's
Yeah.
true.
But he was. So the last surviving member of the Ma Barker gang. But anyway, why did I tell you that? That was a weird thing to
I
inject,
know, it's very
but
weird.
still. So now, what would you say to young people who, you know, might be so bored that they'll think, hey, I'll go to jail and I'll get into this really nice music?
No, we want to
program.
serve young people in their own communities as well. So our goal is also to expand and do a pilot, hopefully within this 2019 in Harlem, and then expand into some of the other boroughs, so that the young people coming out will have continued enduring support through music with the same teachers and same mentors.
Wonderful.
So that's one of our...
Otherwise, they might feel that they're only valued when they're prisoners.
Exactly.
Which is what Charles Manson felt.
Really.
He begged not to be released in
Really?
1967, and you saw what happened in 1969.
Oh.
He said it was the only home he'd ever had.
Oh my goodness.
And in his case, it was true.
Wow.
Only place he got nurturing, only place anyone taught him the guitar, you know.
Wow. So we don't want that to be the case.
No, so,
So we want to do music on the inside/out.
yeah.
Inside out.
And with your connections, if someone is a really brilliant musician,
Yes.
you might even be able to help her or him get a job.
Actually, one of our goals also, and we're developing this right now, talking about it with Jonathan Baptiste and other musicians, a jazz scholarship, so that those young people who reach inside who really are interested and show commitment can apply and get a scholarship, have 10 free lessons and escorted visits to jazz experiences and
Wonderful.
performances. and maybe ongoing mentorship as that bonds. You know,
Yes.
you can't predict that.
No.
Yeah.
You never know.
Right.
But and
musicians,
that's how Louis started.
You got it.
Yeah.
And all the guys in the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra want to help, and I mean, so many musicians I could name
Sure.
in the jazz community that really share concern for the way we've been discarding these young people.
And also love to teach. It's a
And
gift
love
to
to
teach.
teach.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have it.
Okay, so my guest has been Ms. Alina Bloomgarden. Did I get it right?
You did.
Who is the founder of Music on the Inside, which is, let me read it from the brochure. Music on the Inside Incorporated connects incarcerated and at-risk youth with seasoned musicians to offer learning opportunities, creative encouragement, and inspiring role models through the rehabilitative power of music. So there you are.
There you are.
And if you have any money to give, if you are a musician looking for a job, teaching, if you have an instrument you are not using that is in near new condition and you would like to donate, if you just want to find out more, contact www.musiconytheinside.org, right?
Thank you.
And you should find out more about it. Anyway, my guest has been Miss Alina Bloomgarden, who is the founder of Music on the Inside. I'm Diana Montford. This has been the Diana Montford Show. I love you a lot.
Thank you, Diana.
My
Thank you.
pleasure. And if you're watching this in prison, hey, avail yourself of any wonderful program you can to grow and learn. Anyway, I'm Diana Montford. This has been the Diana Montford Show. I love you a lot. Even if nobody else loves you, I love you. And Alina loves you, so there you go. You got both of us. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Love you a lot. Bye.